Welcome to Channel 3 News at 9 on WFGX. Hundreds of Santa Rosa students may have to shuffle schools. Parents speak up at a meeting tonight. And Florida may soon be able to quarantine you if you are suspected of having certain diseases. And making women wait to have an abortion in Florida one step closer to reality. Channel 3 News at 9 on WFGX starts now.
You're watching Northwest Florida's news station. This is Channel 3 News at 9 on WFGX in high definition.
We may know as early as tonight if hundreds of students in Santa Rosa County will need to shuffle their schools. Right now, the school board is hosting a meeting to hear feedback from parents and determine if and how to rezone the county school district. The school board says overcrowding in some schools is prompting the need for change. The board says it would like to build a new school in the future, but first it has to fill all the current schools. That's why they're talking about rezoning. Channel 3's Rob Brown is at that meeting right now. He'll have more on that story coming up on Channel 3 News at 10. Looking ahead, an Escambia County deputy charged with sex crimes against children will be in court tomorrow. Deputy Walter Thomas will petition that the conditions of his bond be changed. Senior Deputy Walter Thomas and Doug and Leah Manning also face charges. Smith is charged with felony sexual assault and misdemeanor battery. Leah Manning is accused of asking minors to perform sexual acts with her and two deputies, while Doug Manning recorded it on his cell phone. Thomas, Smith, and the Mannings have all pleaded not guilty. Pensacola police looking for a man accused of lewd behavior in two stores. Police say the man in these pictures, come take a look here, followed two teenage girls at the Target on Bayou Boulevard and looked up one girl's dress. That was on April the 2nd. And then yesterday, a woman said the same man followed her around the Hobby Lobby on Davis Highway while touching himself. If you know who he is, you're asked to call police or Crime Stoppers. That number, 433-STOP. New at 9. The Baldwin County's District Attorney's Office says brownies eaten by employees at the DA's office last week did contain marijuana. At least two of the employees got sick from eating those brownies. They were brought to the office by a temporary worker. Both are expected to make a full recovery, and that case has been handed over to the State Bureau of Investigations. Tonight, the Escambia County Professional Firefighter Union and volunteer firefighters were at a county commission meeting. They talked about the future of the fire services, and the union is trying to come up with a plan to staff at least 5 fire stations in the county with full-time firefighters. Members say the fire tax could see a $50 increase per home to staff those stations. Commissioners say if the county pays that tab out of the general revenue funds, it would cost $750,000 per station per year. Commissioners plan to talk about the firefighter issue during their meeting on May the 7th.
First warning weather, powered by Pensacola State College.
Okay, Alan, this beautiful weather and the weekend are two great tastes that taste great together.
Yes, that is right. Hey, tomorrow's Friday. Not looking too bad for Friday. It is Saturday. We've got a trouble spot. We're going to be talking about that. Sunday looks good. We'll also talk about that. But Saturday, there is a slight risk for severe weather where you see this yellow area, a large area across the southeast, certainly including the WEAR TV area. We're going to run the Futurecast model coming up in the full forecast, and we'll time out exactly when we expect the worst of the weather. Overnight lows 60s, partly cloudy. Tomorrow, I think more clouds and sunshine. It'll be dry tomorrow. High temps up around 80, 81 degrees.
All right, we're hoping for it. New at 9, Florida could soon isolate people who health officials suspect of being infected with diseases. Today, the legislature sent Governor Rick Scott a bill that would strengthen the power of the state's top health official to place people in quarantine. That bill is a few months after state officials complained about how federal officials were handling Ebola cases. If Scott does sign that bill, health officials would be allowed to use police to require the isolation of someone who is suspected of being infected, even if they are not ill. A bill requiring a one-day waiting period for abortions is nearing a passage. It advanced to the third and final reading in the state Senate today, where Democratic senators fought to add exceptions to the bill. Amendments ranging from a requirement to have men wait 24 hours before a vasectomy to getting rid of the requirement for rape victims to bring documentation in order to waive that wait time. They were all shut down, though. A full vote from the Senate could be taken as early as tomorrow. We'll keep you on top of that. People who solicit prostitutes will face increased penalties under a bill that's going to Governor Scott. It attempts to deal with prostitution by going after people who pay for sex. The penalty for a first offense would go up from a second-degree misdemeanor to a first-degree misdemeanor. A second offense would be a third-degree felony punishable by up to 5 years in prison, and a third offense would be a second-degree felony punishable by up to 15 years in prison. First offenders would also have to take a course on the dangers of prostitution and perform community service, too. The House and Senate still divided with budgets that are $4 billion apart going into the last week of the session. Now House leaders are making an offer to give up money from tax cuts and other spending to try and reach a deal. The House would take away $200 million from other areas of the budget and instead use it in the state's Medicaid program. That would draw down an estimated additional $500 million from the federal government. State inspectors say they're finding dozens of skimming devices throughout the state. The sweep started in early March, and so far, inspectors have checked more than 6,000 gas stations. They're looking for those skimmers. They're electronic devices that capture your credit or your debit card information when you pay at the pump. So far, they've found 81 skimmers throughout the state, including 2 in Okaloosa County and 1 in Walton County. The Department of Consumer Services does not track skimmers at ATMs or other locations, though. A beach party that was planned for this weekend in Bay County now canceled. The Bay County Sheriff's Office spoke with the promoter of the Freaknik event. They agreed to cancel due to public safety concerns. Earlier this week, Bay County commissioners gave the sheriff $40,000 to pay for additional security of that event. The University of West Florida received a grant to study how oil interacts with the environment. The $231,000 grant comes from the Gulf of Mexico Research Initiative. UWF's Center for Diagnostics and Bioremediation will use that money to expand their research. They're trying to find out where the oil from the 2010 spill ended up and how it's affecting the food chain. A man's quest to help uncover the truth about homelessness has brought him here to Pensacola. He's living on the streets and he's posting his experiences to Facebook. Thomas Redman is a teacher from Orlando, and he first started living homeless as part of a project for his students. He says he was so amazed at what he learned, he now travels to cities all over the country and rates them based on how they treat their homeless. He's been in Pensacola a few days, and he says he's found our city is generally kind to the homeless, but we're not fixing the problem.
If another church over there decides that they want to feed the homeless, does that end homelessness?
No.
Does it help end homelessness in any way? No, it's a stopgap measure to help people because we're not ending homelessness.
Thomas says a crucial piece of ending homelessness is ending the misconceptions about who the homeless are and why they are homeless. Thomas will be in Pensacola until Saturday, and you can follow his journey on our website at weartv.com. A woman on a mission to end childhood sexual abuse has now completed a 1,500-mile journey across Florida. Every year for the past 6 years, Lauren Book has walked from Key West to Escambia County and back to Tallahassee. A victim of child abuse herself, Book dedicates her walk to those children who need help. And Book says 95% of all abuse cases can be prevented with awareness and education. Next on News at 9 on WFGX, a U.S. drone strike accidentally kills 2 hostages, one of them an American. Plus, a top Republican wants Hillary Clinton to testify on emails and the 2012 Benghazi attacks. WFGX, the Florida Senate demanding the Florida House go back into session. Pensacola's Graffiti Bridge gets a makeover for Foster Care Awareness Month. And did Freddie Gray break his own neck? What a new report reveals about the man who suffered a fatal spinal injury in police custody. Channel 3 News at 9 on WFGX starts now.
You're watching Northwest Florida's news station. This is Channel 3 News at 9 on WFGX in high definition.
Tonight, the investigation into the death of Freddie Gray is now in the hands of state prosecutors. That's your live look at Baltimore. Baltimore police say they've talked to every witness, gone over every detail in what may have caused the spinal cord injury that led to Gray's death while in police custody. The report includes details that police were initially unaware of an extra stop made by the police van transporting Gray. The Washington Post reports a prisoner transported with Gray told investigators Gray was banging his head against the walls of the police van trying to hurt himself. Our sister station, WJLA, reports the medical examiner told police Gray's head injury matches a bolt inside the van. Tonight, police and the National Guard are standing by in Baltimore in case tonight's protest turned violent. Here locally, over the last 9 years, more than 600 local law enforcement officers have gone through training to better handle riots and hostile situations. The Crisis Intervention Team is a voluntary program. The 40-hour course, given every 3 months, is offered to every law enforcement agency in Escambia and Santa Rosa counties. Doctors from the Lakeview Center help teach officers signs, mentally ill patients, and how to control the situation.
The whole point to the CIT training is to make an assessment of a situation prior to your acting, meaning don't roll on scene, and draw your weapon. Don't roll on scene and pepper spray everybody. It's a roll on scene and assess what I'm currently in. What is my area of responsibility here?
The training also helps officers handle other sensitive situations like the riots in Baltimore. Both the Escambia County Sheriff's Office and Pensacola Police Department eventually want to make the training mandatory for all of their officers. Did you know May is Foster Care Awareness Month? Pensacola's Graffiti Bridge is now painted in recognition. Rob Brown joining us now live in the studio. You have some numbers.
We do have some numbers, and there's some pretty intense numbers. Well, first and foremost, it took about 24 hours to paint the bridge in its entirety, and the Fostering Home Ministry and Families First Network were the ones who painted it. They say their goal was to bring attention to kids in the foster system who don't normally get it. According to the Family First Network, between Escambia, Santa Rosa, Okaloosa, and Walton counties, there are over 1,300 children in some sort of foster care, and there are 690 more who could be transferred into foster care in the near future. They say that finding foster homes or even people to volunteer and help foster parents is incredibly difficult. They hope the message sent on the bridge to raise awareness for Foster Care Month might help spread the word.
You want to know what a foster kid looks like? Look in the mirror, look at your own children. They're just normal kids that have been put in bad circumstances, and we're here to help them out and give them as much love and affirmation as we can.
To emphasize how quickly children often come in need of foster care, the Families First Network told me that today alone, 8 kids were placed into their system. They were still making calls late this afternoon trying to find them a foster home. Reporting live, Rob Brown, Channel 3 News.
First warning weather, powered by Pensacola State College.
Well, I know this is the kind of weather that you like, Alan, where you have to fill 3 minutes by saying, it's gorgeous.
I dig it. You got that right. We've got nice weather. Not only that, during the daytime hours, it's so nice. We've got cool weather overnight. Look at this. Low temps mid to upper 50s, so cooling off for the overnight hours. Yet again, you can crack the windows certainly tonight. It is all clear here across the northern Gulf Coast, and it will remain that way through tonight as well as tomorrow, so our forecast looks nice with those cool lows. Tomorrow's highs will be in the upper 70s. Again, another cool night, Friday night heading into Saturday morning. We're going to take a look at the rest of the weekend and talk about any sort of changes, as well as look ahead to next week coming up.
New developments today in the search for missing boaters after this weekend's Dauphin Island regatta. Searchers recovered 2 more bodies in Mobile Bay today. The Coast Guard identified them as 17-year-old Adam Clark of Mobile and 50-year-old Robert Thomas from Mississippi. A total of 5 victims have now been recovered and identified. Crews are still searching for 71-year-old J.C. Brown. They were all thrown into the water by a sudden storm during the annual sailboat race last Saturday. And the search continues for a paceman who went missing from Crab Island. 20-year-old Rodney Barnes was with his girlfriend this weekend when he slipped underwater. Weather conditions over the weekend have hampered that search, or over the last 2 days rather. The Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office and other agencies were out today with the help of volunteers. According to the Sheriff's Office, at least 40 people registered and more volunteered as the day went on. The Barnes family says they're grateful for the help from the community.
All of these people coming out, offering their boats, offering their time has just really been amazing and really been a blessing to us. And I really had a lot better turnout than what I expected this morning, and it was really an honor to have that.
The Walton County Sheriff's Office also sent over their helicopter to help in the search efforts today as well. That story still getting your attention online. Another local headline you're checking out: Escambia School District made aware of New Point allegations last year, and you could read more on those stories at WEARTV.com. The Escambia County Sheriff's Office is looking for a man who may have information that could be helpful to a homicide investigation. Frederick Crenshaw is wanted for questioning only, and if you know where he is, you're asked to call Crime Stoppers. That number is 433-STOP. An Escambia County corrections officer is wanted in connection with an armed robbery of a drugstore. 29-year-old Cameron Perkins faces multiple charges, including kidnapping and grand theft of a controlled substance. Yesterday, Pensacola police arrested brothers Derek and Sean Cannon. All three men are connected to the robbery of a CVS on 9th Avenue on April 19th. The Cannon brothers are also charged with robbing that same store last July. Both times, the robbers stole narcotics at gunpoint. Okaloosa County deputies are investigating a reported home invasion in Destin. The victims say 3 or 4 men with guns broke into their home on Country Club Drive around 8:30 last night. They say the robbers tied them up and searched for valuables. One victim said he was punched repeatedly in the head. If you have any information, you're asked to call Crime Stoppers. That number 863-TIPS. The Florida Supreme Court has upheld the death sentence for a Milton man. Robert Hobart shot and killed Tracy Tolbert and Robert Ham in September of 2010. Their bodies were found on the side of a secluded road in Allentown. He was sentenced to death for Tolbert's murder and life in prison for Ham's murder. The court reviewed the case and affirmed both those convictions and the sentences. Democrats in the Florida Senate are suing the Florida House over the abrupt end to this year's annual session. The suit claims the House acted unconstitutionally when they adjourned early on Tuesday. The Constitution says neither chamber can adjourn for more than 72 hours without an agreement between the House and the Senate. The filing asked a court to order the House back into session by 1:30 tomorrow afternoon, which is the end of that 72-hour period. Senate Democrats say allowing the adjournment would set a bad precedent.
The people of Florida did not send us here to waste time on their dime. They sent us here to get the job done. It's time that the House completed theirs, and we expect the Supreme Court to remind them of that duty.
The House went home on Tuesday over a budget disagreement with the Senate on health care. Capitol chaos may have overshadowed what actually got done this session. Matt Gelka looks at some of the bills that are only the governor's signature away from becoming law.
It's quiet at the Capitol. The last 2 days of legislative session are usually filled with a flurry of last-minute lawmaking. But the House quit on Tuesday, and the Senate says it doesn't plan on meeting again. Before both chambers left, they did manage to get work done. Maybe the most controversial measure of the year was a 24-hour abortion waiting period bill. The proposal had feverish opposition from pro-choice groups outside the chambers, but passed easily among lawmakers.
26 yeas, 13 nays, Mr. President.
By your vote, the bill passes.
Beer lovers can raise a glass after a multi-year battle to allow a 64-ounce container called a growler ended with an approval. 32-ounce and 128-ounce containers had already been permitted in the state.
To try to explain to them why we can't fill their 64-ounce growler, but we can do a 32 and a gallon is probably the hardest part.
And quirkier bills pass every year, too, like the one this year, giving about 600 voters in the small panhandle town of Panacea the right to try and become an incorporated city.
But we're different. We need to solve this dock. We need to put this into jobs. We can do that. That's why we need to be self-government. Self-government. That's the issue here.
All 600 residents and nearly 20 million other Floridians will have to sit back and wait for lawmakers to figure out the one thing they have to do, and that's come up with a budget. In Tallahassee, Matt Gelka, Channel 3 News.
Just 231 bills passed both chambers this year. That's the lowest number in at least the last 15 years. Senate President Andy Gardner today suggested a 20-day special session starting June 1st to attempt to pass a budget. Next on News at 9 on WFGX, the U.S. Federal Aviation Administration revealing its concerns about the Germanwings pilot accused of downing a plane that killed 150 people. Plus, the United States raising concerns about ships in a key area for shipping oil, what our military is now doing to keep those ships safe.
Here now, a look at your local headlines on Channel 3 News at 9 on WFGX. The death of Freddie Gray ruled a homicide. 6 Baltimore police officers are now facing charges. Local leaders weighing in on that decision. Plus, the final report from investigators on a couple found dead in their Ensley home. Channel 3 News at 9 starts now.
You're watching Northwest Florida's news station. This is Channel 3 News at 9 on WFGX in high definition.
Good evening and thank you for joining us tonight. 6 Baltimore police officers are now charged in the death of Freddie Gray. Tonight those officers are out on bond. Baltimore's Maryland state attorney says the 25-year-old suffered a fatal spine injury on April 12th while being transported in a police van. The indictment says Gray should not have been arrested in the first place. And once he was, officers never put a seatbelt on him and later ignored his repeated pleas for medical help. Charges range from second-degree murder for the van's driver to manslaughter to second-degree assault. The police union called the prosecutor's findings, though, a rush to judgment. Now, the announcement from the state attorney brought cheers to protesters in Baltimore. Rob Brown joining us now live in the studio to share some of the thoughts we're finding locally tonight. Rob?
Well, the reactions to the charges themselves were pretty much one-sided. It seems like many people agreed that at least an investigation was called for. We spoke with representatives of civil rights groups and political talk show radio hosts in the area, and while there were some disagreements about the protests themselves, it seemed everyone agreed the charges are a good opportunity for the facts surrounding Freddie Gray's death to be revealed. According to the director of the ACLU's chapter here in Northwest Florida, less than 2% of deaths involving Maryland police are ever prosecuted. She says this is a historic opportunity for change.
I think this will be a nationwide awakening to police violence and some of the inequalities that are inherent in our system that we've allowed to go on for too long.
We'll have more this evening from Ms. Ladshaw and others coming up on Channel 3 News at 10. Reporting live, Rob Brown, Channel 3 News.
Thank you, Rob. Well, former Florida Governor Jeb Bush weighing in on the problems in Baltimore today. Bush says he trusts the process that resulted in the charges against those Baltimore officers. The likely presidential candidate says a president can lead the conversation on how to fight the pockets of poverty, as he calls it, that can result in dissatisfaction and anger. Investigators say the deaths of a couple in Ensley last fall was a murder-suicide. 44-year-old Scott Chamberlain and 45-year-old Nicole Renee Foster were found dead in a mobile home on Fowler Avenue. The Escambia County Sheriff's Office says Chamberlain killed Foster and then took his own life by hanging. But medical examiners were unable to determine the exact cause of Fowler's death because of decomposition. We now know the name of the man killed by a fallen tree during Saturday's big storm. The Escambia County Sheriff's Office identified the man as 73-year-old Boris Nekashov. Fire and EMS crews had to cut the tree away from the shed on the 800 block of Ward Boulevard. They found his body on a mattress. A body has been recovered from Destin's East Pass today, just south of the Marler Bridge. A boater spotted the body this afternoon. It's not far from where 20-year-old Rodney Barnes of Pace was last seen last Sunday. An Okaloosa Sheriff's Marine unit recovered the body. The medical examiner's office will now conduct an autopsy to make a positive identification. That story is one of the local headlines getting your attention on our website at WEARTV.com and a lot more. A motorhome caught fire on Pensacola Beach this afternoon. Quite a scene for a while. The RV was destroyed by flames in the parking lot of the Quiet Water Beach Boardwalk at about 5:30. Drew some crowds, but fire crews kept the fire from spreading to any other vehicles. There's no word yet on what caused it. Nobody was hurt. A traffic stop in Crestview led to the arrest of a suspected drug dealer. Police say John Elmore of Baker had 24 prescription pills in his pocket. Investigators also found marijuana, meth, and 12 grams of cocaine in his car. They also found $1,700 cash on him. He now faces multiple charges, including possession of cocaine with the intent to distribute. Well, you can keep up with crime in your neighborhood, small and large. Just head to WEARTV.com. Click on the Crime Tracker tab under the News tab. Find an interactive map that you can customize, have emails sent right to you with crime summaries around any neighborhood you decide to define. It is completely free. A Santa Rosa County Sheriff's deputy who was attacked with a samurai sword is expected to make a complete recovery. Deputy Matt Ray was called to a home on Quail Roost Drive in Navarre for a break-in last month. Once he got there, Jordan Kimbrell Jr. attacked him with a samurai sword. Ray says his instincts and training kicked in, and he began defending himself.
Really nice. And I definitely saw that point to where, you know, this is almost it. You know, I can keep fighting and try to stay alive, or otherwise it's over.
Ray's hands and arms and legs were injured. During the attack, another deputy arrived on scene and shot and killed Kimbrell. It's still unclear when Deputy Ray can return to work. Hurricane season is a month away now. If we are hit by a storm, American Red Cross shelters will provide a safe haven for people who have to evacuate or just want someplace safer. Right now, they're signing up volunteers to staff those shelters. If you can help out, they'll love to have you. They've got a training session scheduled for Thursday, May 14th from 9 a.m. until noon. That's at the Milton Community Center. And if your church or organization would like to host one of these volunteer sessions, call the Red Cross at 432-7601.
First warning weather, powered by Pensacola State College.
I want to talk about hurricanes on a day like today. Gorgeous out there and the smell of crawfish in the air downtown, Alan.
Yeah, I'm with you. We were live earlier for Channel 3 News at 4, 5, and 6, and Crawfish Festival, it's kicked off. It's nice. Now, that'll be running actually tonight until 11 o'clock, so Crawfish Festival continuing on, and then tomorrow will run from 10 until 11, and on Sunday that runs from 11 to 5. So all weekend long in downtown Pensacola is Crawfish Festival. Look at this, the weather great here across the northern Gulf Coast. We don't have any rain or wet weather headed our way. It is going to be a nice weekend. Overnight, dipping down into the 50s again. Tomorrow, sunny, highs upper 70s. Some inland areas likely will be a little bit warmer than that. And we'll talk about the rest of the weekend and when we might have a chance for rain coming up.
The state's Agency for Healthcare Administration held their final public hearing on the Low Income Pool, or LIP it's called, the fund responsible for reimbursing Florida hospitals that care for low-income patients. Now, LIP has been at the center of the state's budget stalemate. Federal officials have told the state that it will not be getting the $1 billion+ in funding this year because the state hasn't expanded health care to about 800,000 uninsured Floridians. Well, the Senate put money in its budget plan to expand Medicaid and help those people. The House refused. Some House Democrats today say they support the Senate's budget plan.
I think that we need to, stake our claim and say that we're there and we're supportive and we believe that there should be health care expansion. The Senate offered a plan that was not perfect but reasonable. As a House, we should have considered that plan.
Governor Scott has filed a lawsuit against the federal government over that LIP funding, but the impasse between the House and Senate led to the House adjourning its session 3 days early. Well, Senate Democrats didn't like that, and they responded to the House move by filing a complaint with the state Supreme Court. They claim the House violated the state constitution by quitting early. We'll say the High Court dismissed the lawsuit, but agreed that the House move was unconstitutional. The justices unanimously ruled there'd really be no beneficial point by ordering House members back by midnight tonight. So a special session will now be called to get a budget finished by June 30th and keep government offices open. Hurlburt Field's newest squadron commander is a woman with a very impressive list of accomplishments and a fearsome nickname. Lieutenant Colonel Allison Black assumed command of the 319th Special Operations Squadron today. She'll be leading more than 100 airmen who fly U-28 aircraft. They're light planes used in intelligence gathering and surveillance. Colonel Black is a former gunship officer who got the nickname Angel of Death during a mission against the Taliban in 2001. She was the first female AC-130 navigator to open fire in combat.
It's not a token female doing a job. Happens to be a woman who's very capable, completely qualified, meets the standard, and brings it strong.
Colonel Black, also mother of 2 young sons, at first didn't see herself as a role model, as you heard. Now, she hopes to inspire both women and men as they pursue their own military careers. Up next on News at 9 on WFGX, the Department of Justice launching a $1 million program to help train law enforcement agencies. Plus a boxing match years in the making, drawing a lot of attention and a lot of money this weekend. We'll take a look.